Yes, that's my husband, Robin.
Ah,
He's also joining.
very nice. Glad to meet you.
Martha and Robert.
Meet you.
So was it a fun time with the family?
Well, it was my brother. He came over from England and I hadn't seen him for many, many years.
Oh, wonderful.
And it was nice to be with him. He stayed for 3 weeks and it was good. It was a good time. Yes. Thank you.
It was very good.
So nice.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening, Vladimir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Glad that you're back, Robert
you.
and Marta. It's
Thank you.
lovely.
We're glad to be back.
Others were here. Robin is joining also as Svein. Gita
Yes.
class. It's nice. Great. So let me project the text. Okay, let's, I guess, begin with mantra. Om Vang me manasi pratisthita. Om Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatam maham vande paramananda madhavam. All right, we stopped somewhere here on 28th of chapter 13. We will finish chapter 13, Kshetra and Kshetrajna, and then we will go to chapter 14. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshvaram vinashyat sva vinashyatsu avinashyantam yah pashyati sapashyati. It's with Sandhi. Vinashyat sva vinashyantam yah pashyati sapashyati samam pashyan hi sarvatra samavasthitam ishvaram. Nahinastyatmanatmanam tato yati param gatim. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishthantam parameshwaram. The great or the supreme Lord staying in all the beings equally. Vinashyatsu, among those who are among the perishing ones, avinashyantam, of the one who is not perishing, Yavpashyati, who sees him in this way, Sapashyati, he indeed sees. Seated equally in all beings, the Supreme Lord, unperishing within the perishing, he who thus sees, he sees. This is a typical for the Gita and for Mahabharata in general, these kind of statements. Who sees thus, he sees. The one who knows thus, he knows. Ya evam Veda, it comes from the Vedic times, from Taittiriya Samhita times. Samam Pashyan hi sarvatra, perceiving the equal Lord. Samavasthitam Ishvaram, Sam avasthitam Ishvaram. The Ishvara who is staying in everywhere equally, samam. Same, it's a very good word to remember, easy to remember. Same, staying everywhere. Nahinasti, he is not hurting atmanatmanam. By the self, himself, he is not hurting or does not, what do you call it, injure himself by himself. Tato yati param gatim, and thus he goes to the highest aim or goal or status, to the supreme status. Gati means actually the path, the movement, and also the goal of the movement, from root gam, to go. The same etymology, go, actually. So the Lord is to be seen equally distributed in all the beings, yes, which are perishable. Among the perishable, he is unperishable, and he is not hurting himself, his self by himself, so to say. He does not injure himself by casting his being into the hands of desire and passions. Did we read this already? It looks like we did. So it is interesting because it may look like that we can hurt him with our vital desires, preferences, fears. No, he will never be touched by it, or marred. He will be always pure, like the Hansa on the waters. Yes, he will never be wet. The waters do not mar him, do not stick to him. And thus he attains to the supreme status.
Does it also mean that we injure ourselves with desires and passions, but the Lord does not? Can it also mean that?
Well, right. You changed the whole thing. I thought about him being present in every being equally. And this kind of psychic being does not hurt our outer being, yes? He is not hurt by the outer being in some way. Though Sri Aurobindo says a bit differently in the Life Divine. He says about psychic being too long among human beings becomes attached in some way to their weaknesses and to their, preferences and love stories, and may also make mistakes even because of that, because of its kind of inclination and compassion towards human beings suffering so much. So that's why it needs that clarity of the Lord. Maybe this is what you mean, that support of the unborn self from above to be constantly refreshed or rebooted, into the proper vision, into the fresh vision
Right.
of the unborn self.
Even in Savitri, he says that this little being, it weeps with us, it laughs with us, it shares in our glories and suffers in our sufferings. In Savitri, there's a passage where he says that.
Right. Psychic has this, being too long with human beings, it acquires that kind of humanity, or that particular touch of humanity, which becomes a part. Many people say, why you are so kind of reacting to this or that, to the war, for example, in Ukraine. It's just, look from it from the distant spiritual look. See what happens in reality. The truth is deeper than that. It's not totally so for the psychic. Psychic is moved by all of it and suffers from it. It suffers from people suffering, So it's normal for it. And still it needs that fresh and disinterested look, because it may make wrong choices, in one moment it may do something which would be not according to the truth. Psychic actually is a great power and can create a lot of havoc and problems also. Shri even in the letters describes that one has to be careful, especially when we are in danger. We may invoke the psychic presence or help. We can call to our own inner being, and it has a great power. He even compares it to the nuclear bomb. If it breaks through, it may create a lot of damage for the environment and so on. So it's like a blast of some kind. I was surprised to read that passage. I thought psychic is always loving and, peaceful and cannot create any problem. But no, it is not so simple. It has a huge power. I'm not sure what he referred to totally, but I believe there is some truth in it which we cannot perceive because we don't have that experience. So we have to be careful what we wish for. So if I, for example, curse my enemies and invoke psychic, it may be a very big hit for them and bigger than it is necessary or required. Somewhere even Mother, you remember when she cursed all those who were torturing cats? She was very furious. She speaks about this in Agenda. She said, I created a curse, she said, and this was very powerful. They have to be very careful, these beings, for doing it, because it will hunt them down. So these kind of force which can create many consequences for others. Spiritual force within us, very powerful.
That sounds like the danger of yogi curses throughout the Puranas. That,
Right.
Yeah. Once a curse has been issued, like when Balasharama, I think, the better example is Drona. His master cursed him because it wasn't his master, but a yogi who was, I think this is the story of Drona. Please correct me if it's not correct. But he perhaps
Karna
in a
was
prior,
cursed. Yes, Karna.
yeah, but Karna also had his curse to forget the mantra when he needed it most. And that's how it was easy for Arjuna after this tremendous fight. But Karna had misled.
Even Krishna was cursed. We should not forget. Krishna himself was cursed by Gandhari.
Right.
And that curse worked out. Of course, when they came to him and said that, you were cursed by Gandhari, he said, she speaks with my voice. So it was his own curse for him to leave the body. But it's quite obvious because everybody is here, him in action. But still, yes, the curse plays this role of correlation or correction of the movement, very sudden and very decisive.
Yeah, or the curse of the Apsara who wanted the love of the physical love of Arjuna, and he was under a vow of celibacy then, and so she cursed him to impotence, and who was it, Indra, whoever said that was too strong a curse for the offense, and so it was pulled back or limited to apply for just 1 year instead of Arjuna's whole life. But so the curse could be modified later, but it couldn't be completely retracted.
Yeah, these curses, there may be different sources of curse. One is of the vital energy, and other is if it is coming from the deeper self, then it has a much greater power and very dangerous in a way. And those rishis like Durvasa and all those, which are constantly cursing everyone left and right. You cannot come to them. They have this angry um, nature.
Mhm.
They are by nature angry
The
all
swababa.
the time. So they curse. And of
Uh-huh.
course, with those curses, there is a play of nature. Nature starts taking those curses, putting them into action, and creates the whole story around it. Yeah? And Vishnu also rectifies those curses. So curses and gifts, notice both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boons is the same. Shiva gives boons to many whom he should not give boons. So they are being misused. It's like a curse, only another side of the coin. But these are the soul powers. Why did we speak about this? Because he is not, how to say, injuring himself by himself. Atmana, atmanam nahinasti. This is important. So by himself, he is not injuring himself. It could be that what you said, by the way, Jayashri, that it is the unborn self will not hit the another self, which is deputy of that unborn self here. So the Lord Ishvara will not diminish or injure the inborn self. Yeah? Otherwise, there will be injuries for the outer self, I guess. Maybe you are right. My interpretation was simple, but yours is more complicated. And then, Prakritiya chakarmani kriyamanani sarvashak. We read this, no? Napashyati tathatmanam akartaram sapashyati. Prakriti, prakritya eva. By the prakriti indeed, karmani, all the actions, kriyamanani, are being made, sarvashach, without remainder. Yah pashyati, who sees thus, tathatmanam, in this way the self, akartaram, which is not acting, sapashyati, he indeed sees. So to see the self, the unborn self, as the witness Purusha, as not acting here, but Prakriti which acts. And we discussed this in our sessions with Namaha on the Gita, in Karma Yoga, on three liberations. One is from the fruit of action, other is from modality, and the third is from the doer himself. Because the Prakriti is the doer, and the Ishvara, the Lord Purusha, is the witness of this doing. And he, of course, delegates to her his own attention, so she catches his attention and starts doing things. If he would not give her his attention, she would not be able to do anything. So he has to delegate out of himself consciousness to her. And with that delegation, she does everything herself. She is the executrix of all what is done here in this manifestation in time and space. Not him. No? He is only a witness and Sakshi. We spoke about this. Yeah, he is the also Anumanta, the sanctioner, and also the upholder, bharta, and the enjoyer, bhokta. We spoke about these four already.
So he
So
sanctions,
he enjoys the fruit of what she does. Yes?
he sanctions the law of cause and effect, and she carries it out, right, in our lives, the law of karma. That if you do this, then this is the consequence. That law of karma, cause and effect, is sanctioned by him, and she just carries it out in the individual's life. Is that how it works?
I didn't bring here into this karma yet, but let us think together. So what is karma in that sense, as you said? Karma is the consequence. Yeah.
The law of cause and effect in our lives.
Right. These consequences are created when we are not aware. Yes. From being not aware, we kind of see, we are aware only of the consequences.
Yes.
And once we are aware of the consequences, they become real, yeah, for us. But truly speaking, there are no consequences. If we are aware of what is going on, that she is the doer. So whatever the consequences are not consequences for us, because we are aware. We don't mind whatever she would create anyhow something. Yeah? So why should we prefer this to that? This preference of this to that shows that we are not aware. And there we start judging karma and thinking, oh, karmic, oh, this is because I did this, now this comes. Yeah? But if I am totally aware of whatever she does and I accept whatever the consequences, then the karma law of karma does not work in that way. Yeah.
It's a big thing in Buddhism. The law of karma is a very major teaching in Buddhism, the law of cause and effect. They don't talk about the soul, they talk about the law. So,
Yeah, and sanskaras and habits and this and that. And yes, what is interesting here, we tried to understand how nature is really doing this under his protection or witnessing her or sanctioning her. She does everything, for us. For example, when we are born, we choose this particular body, this parents, this culture, this country, this educational system. Everything is being prearranged even before we are born. Yeah? Because these parents carry certain karma, as you say, sanskaras of particular kind, which we will inherit. We will inherit not only that, we are born in particular lagna, under particular constellation and stars, which provide a certain characteristics and qualities of health, of character, of appearance, after all. Everything, even of the curly and not curly hair, a smell of the skin, and all kinds of things you would not believe we are given. So now, once we are given all this, the choices we make in life are also proposed to us by Prakriti. So she tells us, look at this. Now you are hungry. How do you know that you're hungry? Because Prakriti does it. Yeah? Otherwise, you would not feel hunger. So you need to go and to find something to eat. So you go there and Prakriti provides you choices. So you can choose this or this. And somehow you choose this, but it is her choice. And it is her hunger. And it is her sleepiness that you fall asleep. And it is her waking up that you wake up. And it is all hers. Yeah? This is something amazing, if to think of in detail how it is being. Once we see that, we become kind of detached, or really we find the witness who looks at everything as choices, as gunas, rotating in gunas, as Krishna says in the Gita. These are the gunas of nature. Yeah? Hunger is a guna, happiness is a guna, knowledge is even the guna. Knowledge of the state of knowledge, of equilibrium, of peace, is a particular guna of nature. So we feel good in that guna, so we are seeking it, we want it. So she is providing for us the instruments and the path and the choices. So we follow everything. And what is he doing, Purusha? He's sanctioning. He's saying, yes, okay, okay. No, he says no. When he says no, she stops. She changes. She stumbled. She's perplexed. She doesn't know what to do. She's looking for other choices. But she will look for other choices. Yeah. So if we see this, we become free from whatever happens. Then there is no karma. Because
Didn't
everything
Sri
has
Ar-
karma. Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
please go ahead.
didn't Sri Aurobindo write that all action is karma, and it's just our human mentality that is just sort of taking certain instances that, well, if I do this, I'll receive the consequences of that, but I think Sri Aurobindo didn't he kind of dispose of the normal karmic understanding. And I think he just said all action is karma. I mean, and what you're saying, the gunas and all of the lower nature and that is included.
Right.
Is that correct?
I think so. I think so. I think the same way. And karma in the Upanishads is not karma of the post-Upanishadic, post-Vedic period. Then karma becomes something like a consequence of particular action. But in the Upanishads, it is the sacrifice. Karma is the doing, because every doing, every action is a particular sacrifice. As in
Exactly.
the Gita, he will say that all karma will lead us to knowledge experience. Yes, sarvam karma akhilam partha jnane parisamapyate. It ends in knowledge experience, in realization. So what we do for one reason, to discover ourselves. Everything, all our life is doing only for one thing, to find ourselves.
Yes,
It doesn't matter what it is.
my understanding of Sri Aurobindo's expression of karma is that only the karma that serves our evolutionary advance is what sticks to us. It's not like regular action and reaction or deed and consequence. And in terms of human justice, it's very different from that.
Yes.
Thank you. That was very clear. Yes. Thank you.
Right. Every karma which is done not with the free spirit behind, yes, which has a preference of karma. But the moment preference is there, that this would create this result, and I don't want this result, I want that result, would create consequences of bondage. So we will be bound by certain modality, ways of being, thinking, feeling. We are bound now. Yes, we already delegated part of our consciousness to this bondage. We support the bondage with the presence of Purusha. Purusha gives himself to Prakriti to act, and that is the consequence of karma.
Yes.
So, but the moment he doesn't, he becomes aware of himself. Then, as in the Isha Upanishad, he would say, "Kurvan neveha karmani," and doing here verily works. Jiji vishet shatam samaha. He should wish to stay, to live 100 years. Evam tvai, thus in you, nan yat hetosti, and not otherwise. Na karma lipyate nare. Karma does not stick to man, does not create consequences. So if one is free and does here works with the freedom of the observer of the Lord, and really works here, not renouncing every work, because it's not possible according to the Gita. So you cannot arrive at non-doing by doing nothing, as Sri Krishna says. You will have to do something to arrive at that state. So by doing something here with the consciousness of the Lord, because the first verse says, yes, all this is for habitation by the Lord, Therefore, enjoy yourself with all this, being free from the object of enjoyment. And thus, and not otherwise, karma does not stick to man. Second verse. These two are going in the compound. Once you are free, once you found the Lord within you, you can and must do the work here. That becomes the sacrifice. And only thus, and not otherwise, karma does not create consequences.
There you go. Yes.
Amazing. Because in all other cases, karma will create consequences, whatever it is. So only when you are free and doing works, then only it doesn't create. If you are free and not doing works, it will create consequences. If you are not free in doing works, it will create consequences again. So these two conditions are necessary: to be free and to do the works with freedom of the spirit within you. And then only karma becomes something altogether different. And that is the ideal of karma yoga also, as we know.
So Vladimir, like as you mentioned, even if you are doing a karma based on your evolutionary progress, like you're consciously choosing something that would help you to progress, that would also help you, that would also put a bondage in terms of that you are engraved in a certain pattern of thoughts or actions or something like that, and you cannot move yourself away from it. Is
It
that
will
right?
be a bondage of knowledge, of happiness, of of growth of consciousness. It will be a bondage, but bondage which is evolutionary, which is helping evolution. There is nothing wrong about this bondage. We welcome it. Sri Aurobindo also speaks about this, and Gita speaks about this, that like Janaka, the king who did only for the welfare of all humanity. If we take this highest ideal, of course bondage will come, but it will be very different type, or sattvic bondage, if you will, happy bondage. You will be happily doing it. But to be totally free, we need to be really totally free and do the work. And that is the ideal of karma yoga. We will see here they will speak about different gunas, different actions: sattvic guna, bondage by happiness, bondage by peace. We will see this. It's quite interesting. It is coming. Sometimes we are also used by the higher powers to do certain work. It happens without us knowing, yes? Because Prakriti has something else to achieve with Purusha's sanction. So suddenly we appear in some place and say some word which was necessary for her action. But it is not consequential to us. It's not our punya. We are used here as an instrument of nature. By the way, many of this type of work Sri Aurobindo himself did. And Mother speaks about this when Krishna descended into his body. You remember what she said? She said it's of no consequence to Sri Aurobindo. It is only for the work. He is not beneficiary in this way. So there are certain things which we have to also admit. Certain work is to be done for humanity, for higher purpose, and we are not beneficiary here. I know I piled up too many things onto one spot. Okay. Yada bhuta prithag bhavam ekasthamanupashyati tata evacha vistaram brahma sampadyate tada. So when he perceives the diversified existence of beings abiding in one eternal being and spreading forth from it, then he attains to Brahman. This is something about that 1 and 0 we spoke today. This is the abiding oneness in which all the multiplicities are seen as a product of the one. one everywhere. And they are all coming from that source and held within the oneness. So then one attains to that understanding of Brahman. Anaditvat, nirgunatvat, paramatma ayam avyayah. So one big samasa, sandhi. Sharirasthopi kaunteya nakaroti nalipyate. Anaditvat, from the, how he translates, because it is without origin. So Adi is first, Anadi without first, Anaditvat, without the beginning, Nirgunatvat, without any guna, without any quality, Paramatma, the highest self, I am this, Avyayah, indestructible, Sharirasthach, Api, and even staying in the body, O Kaunteya, Nakaroti, Nalipyate, he is doing nothing, and he is not affected by anything, what is being done. So this is that witness being which is viewing what Prakriti is doing and cannot be touched by it. There is one quality in him which makes him free from whatever she does. But of course, later we will discover that he is also a sanction. Yatha sarvagatam saukshmiyat akasham nopalipyate sarvatravasthito dehi tathatma nopalipyate. And as the all-pervading ether, akasham, is not affected by reason of its subtlety, sarvagatam, everywhere present, saukshmyat, out of its subtlety, nopalipyate, is not affected, is not lepa is this to mar, or to leave the kind of, don't know how to put it.
The stain.
Stain, yes, that's the word. No, is not stained by any activity, has no consequence. Activity doesn't have consequence. Sarvatravasthito dehe tathatma nopalipyate. In the same manner, the Atman is staying in the body and is not affected, is not stained by the activities of the body. Yatha prakashayat yekah kritsnam lokam imam ravih kshetram kshetri tatha kritsnam prakashayati bharata. And as the ravih, the sun, illumines the whole world, thus the kshetrin, the one, the soul, illumines all the kshetra, gives the light to, or let us say, Purusha gives light to Prakriti. And that is how he attends to her. Once he attends to her with his consciousness, she moves and starts acting. He has to delegate himself to her. Otherwise, she would not do their work. Yeah. And I think this is the last verse in this chapter. Kshetra kshetra jnayor evam antaram jnana chakshusha bhuta prakriti moksham cha ye viduh yanti te param. They who with the eye of knowledge perceive this difference between the field and the knower of the field and the liberation of beings from Prakriti, they attain to the Supreme. So we need to see the difference between Purusha and Prakriti. According to Sri Aurobindo also, yes, he insisted on this difference. And he speaks, his yoga also started with this separation of Purusha from Prakriti. Later, when Mother came, things changed. She even didn't like this distinction between Purusha and Prakriti. But there is a reason. It's a next stage in the yoga, much higher. It's that stage where he becomes not even Anumanta, but Ishvara, and she becomes Shakti. So in her view, they are one and the same. Spirit and matter, yeah? Heaven and earth equal and one. Okay, this is the end of the chapter 13, quite longish, and we spent the whole month on it. And we are moving to chapter 14, and here there will be many interesting subtleties of distinction, how this bondage through gunas comes to us, even unknowingly, yes? Even in the best actions we can have, because we do not have yet that freedom of the spirit. It doesn't mean that it is a wrong action, it will be right action. I started to think that there is no wrong action altogether. So because the Prakriti is kind of balancing out among all the possible activities. So if somebody acts wrongly, then she will kind of equalize it through other activities. So she will redirect all the paths. So she's constantly redirecting all the paths with accordance of everybody's activity. This is a very difficult kind of knowledge to have. Sri Aurobindo says we do not have this knowledge. We cannot follow, we cannot fathom what mother is doing, because she's the task is so complex. You have to leave the freedom of choice, and at the same time, you have to move forward. Yeah? And this
Well,
is
isn't that what harmony is? And isn't that what the supermind does, is harmonizes everything so that there is this there isn't a good or a bad, there's the oneness. That's my understanding.
Absolutely. That's what Supermind holds on to this dharma of the oneness and of the truth. And can you imagine, in this time and space, something went wrong in one moment of time? So how it could be kind of rectified, rebuilt around? So next step in the moment of time will be something else. There will be an unexpected change, yeah, because of this wrong movement. Or maybe after some time, it will take a long time maybe for her. Or maybe she will try and leave and then come back to it and rectify, maybe 100 years afterwards. So we see that, oh, he did the wrong thing, and now it is a heavy burden for all of us. But she already sees how she will deal with it. She already created energy for that. We can't perceive it, but she, nature, knows how to deal with it.
Yeah.
So this is an amazing creation in a way, in that sense. So somebody asked the mother, what will happen now there is this fear of nuclear war with this Putin idiot? But suppose somebody would shoot him there, yeah? Is this the solution? We think that this would be a solution, but we think in our narrow time, yeah, that there are so many forces which want to come to the light and to purify themselves. One way or another, they will come up. So how would we resolve this problem? It's a difficult task to resolve. Yeah?
Well, I actually feel that Putin is working for the light, and I actually feel that it is a great spiritual war that is happening, that is going on for sure. And I just, well, I'm not going to get into any politics or anything, but I think he says he's not bluffing, but I'm reasonably certain that he's most definitely bluffing. I don't think that he has any kind of a heart that would do anything such as start a nuclear war. I just don't believe that at all about him at all.
Well, he did already so many bad things. He killed so
Yeah.
many people. He destroyed, he attacked the, the independent country, killed their people. It's already totally off the grid of being good. But what he is good about, he's triggering the response, and we are all refreshing our ideal. We see that we don't live only for the comforts of Western life. Where is the ideal of freedom, of brotherhood? These things have to come back, so we need them to face this danger. And even somebody asked the mother, if suppose somebody will press that button, of the nuclear war, she says there will be immediately the supramental transformation will start taking place. So
Well,
the,
my understanding is the reason why he has already acquired a lot of the country of the Ukraine. He's already has acquired that, and what he's basically saying is, don't try to take it back away from Russia. He's as far as my understanding is, he is fighting for the absolute culture of his country, and for well, for with the people, of course, the people. But I just he is already mainstream media doesn't let us know this, but he's acquired a lot of the land of the Ukraine, and what he's saying is don't take it back away, and he's kind of giving this bluff, and but he knows he's already done a lot that the West, which is us, doesn't like, and so I've been kind of trying to keep up on this, and this is just my understanding of, what I'm finding.
right, but who would like to be killed? Yeah, who would like to be
Yeah,
destroyed?
a
Just
lot.
look at what he did with the
Yeah,
cities, with
yeah,
people, with children. So if you think that this can be justified by some kind of idea of some kind of empire, I don't think so.
yeah. No, I
Because
agree. Yeah,
yeah. So and nobody's
of
life
course.
can justify anybody's ambition about something. How can you come to somebody's house and kill someone and then say, but because they are wrong people?
Right. Yeah.
This is not the time for this. Maybe 100 years back it was normal, or 200 years back, but not anymore. We are in a different time frame. So we value human lives. We value their choices, whatever they may be.
Right.
I don't like somebody, so I don't go and kill him because I don't like him, or impose
Of
on
course
him.
not. No.
Yes.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree. I'm just trying to somehow harmonize his actions with I mean, the horror that it's been going on, just like any horror that goes on during any war is as abominable. There's no question about it. But I think that his actions need to be harmonized, and understood as well. I mean, well, I'm not going to go any further than that because then I'll get into
I
political
don't
stuff.
think you want to be in his country. Believe me, this is the complete suppression of every freedom. And if you agree to be suppressed, I lived in that country. It's Soviet
I
Union called. And if you agree, you will be free. Yes. Even then,
Ah,
you have to be very careful not to say anything. It's like in China, they're all free until they say something against politics or ideology or propaganda, and then you are not free anymore. You go to some gulag or concentration camp, and then you have no rights to be. Then some crooked guy has right over your life, and you will be miserable till the end. So you would
yeah,
not wish to live anymore. So this is how it was. It was for hundreds of years like this. This
mhm,
regime of a people cannot continue. The time for the empires is over. All the empires crumbled down. Even a
mm,
great British Empire, which Shabinda is praising so much, as Commonwealth. I loved this, what I read. He really said that this British Empire wasn't so bad because they understood at the end that it is not going to work the way as suppressing people. Freedom of individual has to be given. That is their major ideal. So they changed the name of empire to the Commonwealth. And you see how all those bits and pieces of this British Empire started to develop very fast, highly developed.
Right.
Yes, look, Australia, how beautiful it is. New Zealand, this our neighbor,
Canada.
United States and
Canada.
Canada. Canada, look how beautiful it became. And it was part of the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
And all these other countries in between, and even India. Yeah?
Yeah.
And Sri Aurobindo says if it would be not British, if it would be not British gentleman, but some German, yeah, a guy who establishes the state order, they would not discuss with Gandhi anything. They would just shoot Gandhi immediately on the spot. And that would be the end of the freedom movement. So
Yeah.
that would be decided very fast.
But then again, now I was just recently hearing
Sorry for
about
this,
the
guys.
history
I
of.
do not know whether you
Okay.
were ready for this. If it is, I'm just apologizing for others. Maybe they don't find this important. Yes, I see some boring look already in your faces.
No, we don't mind.
No, you don't mind. Okay.
I don't mind.
So if you
Because I
have
don't
some
follow
other
politics.
opinion, please let us avoid politics. Look at this from the spiritual point of view. No politics, yeah, but spiritually, what is really going on? In my view, it is the refreshment of all the ideals, which has to be done because the West became very lazy, very, oriented towards one's own this kind of comforts, and now it has to stand what it was for. Those ideals of French Revolution, American Revolution, they have to remember and to live these words, not to be corrupted to the extent as it started to be, and especially with Putin's corruption, because he brought a lot of money into this and made many lobbies in all the countries. We know about this.
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah, taking this back to the discussion we were having right before about whether karma is always good or there's a good and bad. It's really the distinction between the mental level where right and wrong are a concept of the mind. In the supermind, that distinction, everything is good. The supermind uses everything for evolutionary purposes. And so when you say that there is no karma ultimately because Prakriti balances things out, she's acting from a supermind level, but it would be very damaging from a mental and social point of view if we adopted that. It would be very inappropriate. It'd be misapplying. It's applying ethics from a much higher state of consciousness to actions done at a lower state of consciousness. And there's a reason that we have evolved with all the social structures that distinguish right and wrong. And the fact that people get so worked up about discussion of the Ukraine is because it touches these very central points of right and wrong, which are fundamental to what to our motivation. Is one of the biggest arguments, whether in couples or between generations and political parties. It really boils down to different perceptions of right and wrong. So we can't eliminate that. We just have to rise above it gradually through higher consciousness and more pure selfless action.
Yes, beyond right or wrong, there are also values such as freedom, equality, brotherhood, love. These are the movements. And as it was in Kurukshetra, as you remember, there could be also on both sides, there could be heroes who, for example, Karna is a great hero in my view. who was fighting on the wrong side, so to say, against Krishna. But he was playing his role. In the same way, Putin is playing his role to activate all that need for the light and freedom. That's what I feel and see what happened to Ukrainian people. And those whom I did not respect at all, now I have my full respect and attention because they grew in this war. This war made them better beings, you know. It's amazing. I'm just saying something very trivial, very banal, but truly speaking, it is so. Zelensky, who is the president of Ukraine, was nobody. He was a kind of, a clown of some kind. He was making jokes. And now it's a being. Yeah, when he speaks, I can feel the depth of his thought, and his texts are powerful, as if written by some divine providence. So I do not know. I'm just wondering about altogether this enterprise. It helps us to recover our values, spiritual values. So in that sense, everybody says Putin did for Ukraine more than anybody else. And I'm sure there are more elements to it, so it's fine. And if somebody has different opinion, that's fine for me. You may have it. Don't worry. You don't have to take mine on this. I'm just also a little biased because I'm from Ukraine and my family is there and they had to run away from those bombs and so on and so forth. And so they survived. But this is not a fun thing to do.
No.
It's easy to look for from far away.
Is most of your family out of Ukraine by now?
No, they are in the western part of Ukraine. They shifted from the eastern to the western, and so they live there. They left their houses. All right, now we are coming to chapter 14, which is also an amazing chapter because it will start analyzing gunas, how nature is making everything arranged for us and doing all the work. And I will start anyhow, and then we will stop. Shri Bhagavano Vacha, this blissful Lord said, Param bhuyav pravakshyami jnananam jnanamuttamam yajnatva munayah sarve param siddhim itogatah. So I will tell you more, he says, Blessed Lord said, I will again declare the supreme knowledge, the highest of all knowings, which having known, all the sages have gone hence to the highest perfection. So he will be analyzing how the nature is acting, how Purusha views the action of nature being free from her activities. This is the Jnana Yoga section, this analysis, gunas. Gunas are most general movements of nature, yes? And so we will follow him and it will be a great learning. Idam jnanam upashritya mama sadharmyam agatah sargepi nopajayante pralaye navyathanti cha. It's an amazing statement. Idam jnanam upashritya, having taken refuge in this self-realization, in this knowledge, which I will declare to you, mama sadharmyam agatah, they come to my sadharmyam. Sri Aurobindo translates, become of like nature and law of being with me. To the similarity of my own dharma they come. This is the idea. They come to the likeness of my nature. They Knowing this, they are kind of growing into the likeness of my dharma. Sargepi nopajayante. They are not born anymore in the creation. That means unconsciously born. Like nature is dragging everybody, whether you want it or not, you are born there because you don't have self-awareness. Pralaye, and in the disappearance, in the dissolution of nature, navyathanti cha, are not born in the creation, nor troubled by the anguish of the universal dissolution, and not afraid in the pralaya time. This is interesting, because once you've found your unborn self and see how nature acts, then you become free. She may dissolve everything, or she may start new creation. Since you are unborn self, you just view it, how it is happening. So she cannot drag you anymore unconsciously into birth. You will be born, but at will, at your own will, if you want to. So that freedom of choice is with you, not with nature anymore. Mama yonir mahad brahma tasmin garbham dadham yaham sambhavak sarva bhutanam tato bhavati bharata. And this is something we spoke today in our previous class on the Rig Veda. Mama yonich mahad brahma, my yoni, my place of my womb, literally, and that is the universe, yes, is a great Brahman. Location, my dwelling place is great Brahman. Tasmin garbham dadhami aham. In her, into that Brahman, into that yoni, I cast the seed. Sambhavak sarva bhutanam tato bhavati bharata. And from that casting of the seed, from that conception, the whole world comes into being. We will have to read more Sri Aurobindo's. Maybe we will do this next time. Yes, I will stop here. Number 3, we have to remember. So this is the beginning of another reading, how the nature is arranging everything in the light of witness of Purusha, and that is Jnana Yoga. It was the most difficult yoga for me, I must tell you immediately. I never could totally understand it, or rather experience it. I could understand it very well, because it's very good for the mind. But experience-wise, it was easier for me Karma Yoga to understand than Jnana Yoga. But now, with your help and your company, we may find some truth in it together. It's another attempt to come to this section. I do not know how many were made before, dozens of them, but now it's another new one to read it again and to try to understand it. All right, so we will stop here for today. Sorry for this politics. I didn't want to go into it. I have my strong opinion for this, and
I would love to discuss more. But
right.
I don't think this is the right place.
All right. I thought why we are drawn to it. Usually we avoid it because it is not leading us anywhere. But now I see that the weight is going strongly into that direction. We have more members interested, and that's why we permit ourselves to speak about it. And it is actually quite actual now in our life. Yeah, it is something going on, and we are on the edge of of big change, at the
It's
brink
going to
of
have a huge effect on the world.
right.
No,
And I
it's
hope it will be a positive effect.
yeah, I think it will be. I think it very much will be.
Yeah, I think so too. It's Sri Aurobindo's 150th birth anniversary. It's time to make some changes. Look at Auroville, what a mess. So what to say more? And they are coming out. They started to feel kind of oneness and love and brotherhood, they say, in both communities, in those, different parties. They feel good about it, strangely. So as Heraclitus would say, the war is the father of all things. Yes, war is the father.
Mm.
It clarifies things. It makes them clear, direct. You don't need to hide behind some, fancy ideas. You say what you think, what you feel, what is right for you, and stand for it, and fight for it, and die for it.
Mhm. Yeah.
There is some freedom in it.
Mm.
Great. I will close with the mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santo Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Mm.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vladimir.